Hello and welcome. I'm Garima, and joining me on the Dais today is Devashis Thakur, Vice President of the Sales and Marketing Division at Sledgehammer Oil Tools. Thank you so much for joining me today, Devashis. It's a pleasure to have you with me on the Dais today. Devashis, tell us about your story. What inspired you to join this amazing industry, and how has your personal journey been so far?
Well, Garima, once again, thank you very much for inviting me here. And to tell you my, story or my motivation to join this industry, I have to go back a little to my childhood.
Right.
I was born and brought up in Assam, northeast of this country. And as you know, Assam has got a very long history or long connection with this industry. So we kind of grew up hearing stories about oil field, and whenever we used to travel, we used to see a lot of these oil field installations that, gas flare burning somewhere. So there was a connection. And of course, you always have that, your relative or a cousin who was working in these companies. So we used to hear a lot of fascinating stories about oil field, how they work and what is the life like in all those oil townships. So those things are very, very attractive as a young person, like it was a very, that has an effect. And later on, growing up, obviously, I came to realize that this is a very prestigious industry, and it gives a very rewarding life and a career. And it was also a very great fit, in terms of me being a graduate engineer at that point of time. So various factors, actually. So a lot of factors has contributed me going and ending up in this industry. Right. So it's been almost 20 plus years in this industry now. I'd consider myself to be privileged that I had the opportunity to see this industry from almost a 360-degree view, starting from with one of the premier Indian oil and gas producing company called Oil India, and going on to see the industry from a service angle. Working in some of the service companies across Middle East and India. And finally being here in the manufacturing sector. So operating service as well as the manufacturing side, it covers the entire spectrum. And also it's been a kind of a privilege to have the opportunity to work in various geographies in say Middle East or Southeast Asia or many markets in Africa or in my own domestic market in India and a few other geographies. So it's a mixed bag, but I would say it's a very, very interesting journey. Thank you.
Wow, that's beautiful. That's beautiful, actually. It's amazing to hear your story and your perspective. Devashis, I would also like to understand some of the career paths and roles you have taken up in the industry. If you would like to share that with us.
Yes. See, I started as like any other young engineers, like as a field engineer,
right?
In Oil India, So I was basically involved in the gas production side as a field engineer. But in 2002, I had taken a decision to go for my higher studies, and I had I went overseas to do my MBA studies. And since then, I kind of moved to the business side of the industry. So I have taken a lot of business development roles in service segment. I worked in Oman for almost 3.5 years. And then, as I have already mentioned, that these roles have actually taken me to various geographies, exploring businesses,
right.
Developing businesses. And for a very short while, for a couple of years, I actually had a very, very interesting stint as an entrepreneur. again in the industry, starting a company along with a few of my colleagues, rendering some of the core services to the industry. And it was tough, but very, very interesting.
Wow.
I would say one of the best experiences of my professional life, and teaches you the maximum.
Right.
I mean, and nothing teaches you like being on your own. But here am I am here in terms of working in this industry as the head of their, sales and development team of Sledgehammer Oil Tools.
Yes.
Looking after various initiatives they're just companies taking. So this is the journey so far. So I'm more into business development, sales, business development, business management side of things.
Now help us understand what is Sledgehammer's story and how has your journey been with this organization so far?
Well, just to brief you about Sledgehammer. Sledgehammer Oil Tools is an Indian company into a space called cement and casing accessories business. And of course, we have different segments, but that is the main segment of business.
Right.
And as you know, I have been myself as a new entrant or a new member of this Sledgehammer family. And for my short term that I have spent here, what I've observed, what I have learned, or what I've understood, for me, it's a very fascinating story, basically. Only in about 14, 15 years, a young bunch of entrepreneurs starting a business and making it, counted as one of the leading global brands of this particular range of products.
Right.
It's a story of a lot of dreams, convictions, and confidence, innovations, and most importantly, it's a very fascinating story of consistent performance delivery over a long period of time.
Right.
And this is proven by the fact that many of the global brands, top of the global brands in oil and gas industry, is our customers at the moment. And over the period of time, we have almost served more than 100 customers in 60 plus countries.
Wow.
Okay, so that's and hardly any part of the world that as a company we have not covered. But what I like even better, that this company is actually not resting in its past laurels and continuously, constantly looking for avenues to grow and expand its horizon.
Absolutely.
Whether in terms of expanding its mother plant in India, or whether trying to expand its global delivery capabilities by setting up factories overseas.
Right.
Very recently, actually last year, we have set up one factory in Oman. And there's another factory that is under commissioning phase in Saudi Arabia, which is one of the biggest oil market in the world. Will be right next door.
Wow.
Or setting up strategic collaborations with some of the leading names in the industry. So it's a continuous story of growth and efforts, and that's why probably this company is now being regarded as one of the premier leading global companies in our space,
Right.
where it was actually dominated by a lot of Western names. So that's a very good story to tell.
Absolutely. And this is a story of resilience, I would say, because I'm sure as a team, you must have encountered so many challenges as an organization, but the kind of footprint that you have created for Sledgehammer today, that's really commendable.
Absolutely, and all the credit goes to the founder members and all the initiatives they've taken, all the things they have done. As I said, I am a new member. I'm just trying to add to the story, and hopefully I can contribute in my own little way.
Absolutely. And Devashis, how are you looking at the current crisis that we have before us? How are you looking at COVID-19? And in what ways has this crisis impacted your organization? And how are you trying to thrive through this challenge that we have on the table?
It's a very interesting and very, very relevant question. And I'm glad that you asked. I mean, this this situation, whole situation, this is unprecedented, right? In our lifetime, nobody has actually encountered this kind of a situation ever.
Absolutely.
So this is something very unforeseen. Nobody was prepared for it when it hit us. And like any other industry, we have also been hit very, very hard. There's no question on that. Okay. So just before it happened, there was already a supply glut in the market, in the oil industry, because of various geopolitical reasons. When suddenly the whole thing came, and in 3 months, it has changed the entire scenario of the industry.
Right.
And actually, when there was oversupply, and suddenly demand side has been completely decimated, the industries have stopped functioning, transportation sector has come to a halt, aviation sector has completely gone on a stop mode, and there's nothing.
Right.
And when actually we have seen a very unprecedented scenario where $0 a barrel, the oil were trading at $0 only a couple of months ago, right?
Yes.
So fortunately, we have come to a more responsible or respectable situation right now. But yes, to come, if I have to tell you about the impact as a business, it has actually impacted the entire, each and every step of the value chain of the entire business. Okay, right from when the big companies, the operating companies, stop slashing their budgets for capex, capital expenditures, or opex. Okay, then it straightway starts affecting the service companies and the suppliers.
Right.
So there we are. So many of the projects have been deferred, so that your prospects have gone down. Even for the confirmed orders, sometimes we have seen a curtailment in the quantities. Okay, some of the tenders that we have been targeting, that has been deferred. Your entire supply chain has been disrupted.
Right.
Okay, and of course, your resources are a lot unutilized. Okay,
Right.
so another thing is that you're actually even you're hitting a lot of constraint in terms of new product development. It's the entire cycle, right? Entire cycle of the business is hit. At the end of it, like your bottom line is getting impacted, your cash flow, your revenue, everything else.
Right.
So that is, in short, are the impacts and how we responding to it. See, as I said, nobody knew how to respond to it, this kind of a scenario.
Right.
So it is a kind of a wait and watch, and people are trying out different means, and some of these are working, some of these are not working. And it is a continuously evolving process. But things that you can control, we are trying to do that.
Right.
I will categorize that in two ways. One is the external. Externally, things that we can control. In the classic 4P scenario, your product, your pricing, your promotion, your places. I put that in kind of a scenario. So in terms of a product and a pricing, what we are doing is basically we are trying to give the maximum flexibility to the customers, and we are trying to help the customers stay competitive. Right. Even help them winning more businesses by being flexible at our end. Okay, number one. Number two, we are trying to keep our delivery commitments. Because the supply chain has been so badly disrupted, it's been a very, very tough task to keep to your delivery commitment. Absolutely. And right, so, but in some of the time, even if we have to pay a higher price for that, we are still honoring our commitments and trying to help the customers as much as possible.
Right.
And in terms of, say, places or promotion, of course, will come a little later in the conversation. Like probably we have adapted to the new way of connecting to our people, our customers, our stakeholders. So your place of promotion, or the way you are promoting your products or you're connecting to your people have changed. We're responding to that.
Right.
And in terms of places, actually, I would call that an opportunity. As you say, every crisis gives you a new opportunity. We are actually trying to explore new areas that we have not been very, very active in, or we have not been very, we don't have very strong presence. And some of the markets are actually evolving out of this crisis, where we think we have very good opportunities.
Right.
Okay, this is the external environment, and internally, it's been a great challenge to keep your workforce safe, motivated, and focused. So we are doing the best we can in terms of keeping our work process, the workflow engaged, and in the as usual business as usual mode, taking the proper precautions, and keeping health as the most primary thing as a priority. And of course, we are trying to, engage or keep our subordinates, our peers, our colleagues as focused, as motivated as much as possible in this very trying and insecure time.
Right.
So we are trying to, work as a team through this tough time, and I am sure we'll emerge better out of this whole scenario.
Absolutely. I am confident about that. And I actually celebrate your outlook towards this whole situation. You have pointed out some very, very positive aspects and all that we can focus upon as an organization. These are some very, very inspiring messages for the oil and gas companies out there. And I'm sure they should contemplate and reflect upon these aspects, because as a company, there's only so much that you can do, right? And
Absolutely.
we can make the most of that.
Sure. Yeah.
How do you look at collaboration in the industry? You just talked about some tie-ups that you have initiated in the industry, at the global level. How are you looking at collaboration when we talk about the oil and gas space?
It's extremely important. It's extremely important because to talk about collaboration, I have to talk a little bit about the oil industry, right? As you know, oil industry is a very cyclical industry. Right. It goes through a lot of peaks and troughs. And in the last only couple of, probably a decade or so, we have seen almost three, different kind of crash in the market.
Yes.
And every crash basically leads the market to a lot of collaborations, different kind of collaborations. And collaboration happens because you want to leverage your resources by combining with somebody to focus on the most, efficient or most productive assets. Right. You want to leverage your resources. You want to leverage your supply chains. So there's a lot of demand, or there's a lot of need for collaborations in the market. Mm-hmm. And from a manufacturing point of view, basically what collaboration brings in is it drives down your cost of development of your products, or cost of R&D, research and development, right? And also it helps you share your testing facilities, manufacturing facilities, bringing in a lot of advantage to both the partners. If you really go back to the history of oil and gas, you see a lot of collaboration like Chevron, Texaco, ExxonMobil, so GE Baker. And this time, because of this whole current scenario, yes, I personally see a lot of collaborations going ahead, happening. Right. So it's extremely important. And another issue is, I'd like to point out, for a company like ours, basically, who are manufacturer products, we also collaborate with a lot of bigger, higher cost manufacturer or service providers who wants to manufacture their products under their brand names. It's more or less called contract manufacturing, but we'll discuss that a little later. Yes. So this is another kind of collaboration that we see that happens in the market.
Right.
And this brings in a lot of advantage to both parties collaborating.
Right, right.
So it is extremely important in today's business scenario.
Absolutely. This situation is definitely redefining the industry in so many ways. If we talk about in terms of communication, in terms of workforce, technology, innovations, what is your take on this?
I would consider this as a point of inflection for the industry.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, in many ways, whatever you call it, industry point 2, 3, 4, this is definitely a point of change, and industry is not going to be the same ever again.
Right.
It has changed in many ways, and coming to technology, you have already seen what's happening for the last couple of months. The way we are engaging with different stakeholders, whether it's our own team, your clients, your vendors, your supply chain, everything. So where we are managing our operations in different oil companies, technology has come into play a very predominant role.
Right.
And it is going to be more and more, because first of all, there's a question of managing your remote operations, probably with less manpower, but safely. Okay, only technology can help you there. And of course, because of this whole COVID crisis, you have to manage your operations with less people, but safely in the scenario of very increasing infections.
Right.
So technology is, I mean, less I say is, it will be lesser basically, and technology is going to be playing a very prominent role. And even the traditional oil companies, with either the NOCs, the national oil companies, they will actually start adopting a lot of these digital capabilities going forward.
Right.
Okay, so that is the technology part. In terms of workforce, there are several issues. First of all, it's a point right now of a great crisis in the entire workforce of the industry. People are being laid off, and people are going through a lot of issues in terms of their pandemics and other things. So first point I really want to touch upon is how you are managing the mental health and motivation of your team,
right,
of the workforce. That's a very important.
right.
So leadership is a great issue or very important issue in this whole scenario. A great leadership basically knows how to carry its workforce in through a stressful situation. So managing your workforce through great leadership, that is very important in this point of time. And also one of the key factors that the industry is losing a lot of people, losing a lot of knowledge base, a lot of experienced people.
Right.
A lot of people are turning away from the industry. So how do you keep that kind of a knowledge base in the industry? Right? That's a very key issues that we have to face and manage, or how it is defining the industry right now.
Absolutely.
Third point is there will be a lot of new people with some niche technological expertise that will enter the industry.
Right.
Okay, so there will be more and more of these smaller companies, which probably companies which are aided by artificial intelligence, or companies or data analytics companies. They'll be more and more integrated with traditional oil and gas companies.
Right. Right.
Okay, and in terms of work culture, I believe, as you know, we are getting more and more into kind of work from home situation. Yes. People are getting stuck, and so people are learning to deliver by themselves rather than in a team environment.
Right.
Probably that is going to be more of a norm. We don't know yet. Okay. And then, as I told you, there'll be people with very specialized capabilities. They will come into play a very important role in how the work is going to get done. Yes. So, and third, I believe the young generation of this industry is going to demand a lot of things, or in terms of work flexibility.
Mm-hmm.
What is being granted or what is being happening in the peer industries of tech industries, for example.
Right.
So we don't know yet, but I believe things are going to change in terms of how we as a very traditional industry has been functioning.
Right, right. These are some very interesting arguments that you have just given for our audience, Devashis. And in this same regard, how are you looking at building a strong online presence for oil and gas companies today? Because as we discussed, the industry has been traditional in some aspects, and having a social media presence and online presence is also one of those elements. Now, with social distancing, with lockdown imposed almost all over the world, how important does having a strong online presence become for oil and gas companies, especially the small business owners, manufacturers, and startups?
See, online is the way to go, isn't it? I mean, if what has gone by in the last couple of months has been any indicator, we can say future right here.
Mm-hmm.
We are engaging right, left, and center through online.
Right.
So that time is here. So the less said about the importance of online brand building or presence
Mm-hmm.
is again, it will be lesser actually. It'll be now. So right from working from home to how you're engaging with your team, or how you're engaging with your entire ecosystem of your industry, I believe online has become the norm, and especially for manufacturing companies like us. I'll just give you an example. For a manufacturing company like us, a lot of our inquiries actually come through online, okay, and from companies that we have not even approached. So it's extremely critical for us.
Right.
And as you say, basically you get only one chance to make a first impression, right? So if you have a good online presence, you have a good brand, good online presence, basically that maximizes the chances that your potential customers are going to be in line for a prospective sale. I don't have the data or figures. Probably you guys will be having it better, how it actually impacts the bottom line. But on a very broad level, I believe this is having a good brand and online presence is extremely critical in today's age of social media.
Right, right. And it was one of your social media posts that I came across the concept of contract manufacturing. What is it about? You did mention it previously as well in the conversation, and how it is so relevant in the current times. Please tell us about that.
Interesting. Yes. Contract manufacturing. See, basically the idea of contract manufacturing is you're manufacturing as per somebody else's design or intellectual property, right, and ideas, and selling those products under their brand name. Okay, and basically what you are offering is your manufacturing capabilities. That is what contract manufacturing is all about. Now, how it is relevant or how it is important at today's scenario.
Right.
See, contract manufacturing brings in a lot of advantage, because in today's kind of a price scenario, in today's business model, it is extremely difficult for a manufacturer sitting in a high-cost country to produce their goods and be competitive, right?
Absolutely.
So they are always going to look for opportunities or options where they can get their products manufactured in a much more competitive way, but keeping the same quality. We as a company, we offer that one, because we are already a world leading manufacturer, and our products are basically being recognized or being used by some of the leading brands in oil and gas company.
Right.
Some of the biggest names in the oil and gas industries, actually.
Mm-hmm.
So, and on the other side, we also have this humongous or huge manufacturing resources, some of which are being right now not being utilized to a full capacity because of the because of the depression in the market.
Mm-hmm.
So in that scenario, we bring in a lot of advantage to manufacture from high cost countries.
Mm-hmm.
Besides that, this is contract manufacturing is also a very good option for emerging companies who don't have the manufacturing resources.
Right.
Suppose you are a company with a great product, but you don't have that manufacturing facility, or you really don't want to get into that and run into some unexpected problems. Companies like us, they can use companies like us and get the benefit. They can get the products out to the market, right?
Right.
And even for startups, we bring in the same advantages.
Right.
And another thing that happens because of contract manufacturing, that instead of running into unexpected problem by taking manufacturing on your head, you actually know what is your manufacturing cost upfront,
Right.
because you already you have the cost upfront. What is my manufacturing going to cost me, right? So you have a better budget control. Okay, so there are a lot of advantages that a concept like contract manufacturing bring in, especially in today's scenario.
Right, right. What I see here is a very strong model of collaboration. It is something that is extremely relevant if we talk about the current scenario. And I am sure companies, the manufacturers, the smaller business owners will definitely benefit from this. And I think they should get in touch with Team Sledgehammer if they have any requirements of this sort. And moving
Absolutely,
yes,
absolutely.
yes.
In fact, just to add to what you are saying, we are already collaborating with some of the biggest names in the industry,
right,
in this space. Obviously, I cannot divulge more than this, but yes, this is already happening, and this is a great concept.
Right, right, absolutely.
And also as a company, this helps to bring my own standards up. Right? When you are collaborating with some of the biggest names or some of the processes and manufacturing processes, standards, the qualities, the certification requirement, what happens is basically you elevate your standards of manufacturing and your standards of how you do things.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Very important point here, Devashis. And now talking about your role in Sledgehammer, that of the Vice President of Sales and Marketing Division. There is nobody better than you who can answer this question for me. It is about sales and business development in the current context. The background that we have, the current crisis that we have before us. These are not the times when you can connect with people and directly pitch your product, right? You need to have an empathetic tone, and the situation is completely different. You need to put yourself in the shoes of the other person, your prospects, your prospective clients. How would you suggest that sales people should be approaching their prospects in the current scenario? And what are some of the skills that you would say really help them stand out?
It's a very good question, actually, and this is also relevant to my function. The days when you just manufacture a product and go to the customer and sell it, that is over. Saying that this is good.
Right.
Right now, especially with this scenario, you have to very, very clearly demonstrate how your product is going to bring in better efficiency, operational efficiency, better cost structure to the client, and how it is going to help your customer winning more business for themselves.
Right.
Okay. Right. So that has to be clearly a bottom line driven approach. And in terms of what you need to do, what kind of skill set that you need to have, I believe the core of a salesperson or a business development person remains the same. Two things are very important. One is your context, and two, it's your visibility. Okay. So no matter what, no matter how, you still need to be in touch with your key contacts, entire ecosystem, okay, especially your clients. So use technology, you whatever it, just because it's a tough scenario, you just cannot afford to lose contacts.
Right.
And I believe even if business is not happening, being in touch with your customers is very number one. And number two is the visibility.
Mm-hmm.
And again, technology, visibility, you cannot travel now. There's a lot of travel restrictions, right? So you just cannot, travel and meet somebody. You cannot just go to participate in some kind of trade shows, nothing. So how you stay visible? Again, technology come into the picture, right? And I believe the way we are engaging, it is actually very advantageous that you can showcase your products, your capabilities in a much better way through online presence even.
Right.
You can actually enhance that whole experience of simply going and meeting somebody or just talking through a presentation. I believe there are a lot of techniques and tools and technologies right now that can actually help you showcase your capabilities in a better way. Right? So take advantage of that and understand. And third point is the understanding it. A salesperson or a BD person, they have to constantly in touch with the market and studying and observe and study the emerging trends and the opportunities. Mm-hmm. Because each crisis also brings in a lot of opportunities.
Absolutely.
Okay. So for to be successful in your business, in your sales process, in your BD process, I believe being in touch with the market and understanding and studying the trends very, very carefully. Mm-hmm. That is a skill that we as salespeople or BD people, we need to cultivate and constantly practice.
Right.
Yeah.
Again, these are very important points which everyone should take note of. And in this same context, if we talk about the emerging trends, now, considering the current crisis, we know how unprecedented it is already.
Yes.
But according to you, how do you visualize a post-COVID world? What do you think some of the trends that would really make a difference, would really make an impact? What is it that we do today would go beyond this crisis?
See, as I have already mentioned, the industry, as we know, it's not going to be the same again, right? There'll be a lot of impact. There'll be a lot of changes. I would categorize these challenges or these changes in two scenarios. One is a short-term scenario. Short-term, you get used to this low price scenario, falling prices. Mm-hmm. Okay. Then some of the traditional demand driver of this industry, like, for example, refined products, jet fuel, their demand is already down and it's going to stay down for a while. That is one of the short-term impact or challenge. Right. Okay. Third is companies really need to figure out ways how to run their operations very safely under these increasing infections.
Yes, absolutely.
That's a very strong challenge.
Yes.
And another important thing is that finances are going to run dry because it is severely impacting the bottom line, the revenues, the short cash flows, right? And credit is going to be more and more tough to come by.
Right.
So there'll be access to credit. That's a very important things, and that'll be for a lot of small to medium-sized companies. It will be very, very tough to negotiate this phase.
Right.
Okay, so you have to figure it out. Either what you call is swim or sink, right? Yeah. And in terms of long-term scenario, what I can envisage is only those companies which are healthy in terms of their cash reserve or cash flow, only those companies which have got very strong financial disciplines and a very efficient operational model, those people are going to stay strong, and they're going to stay at the end of it all. Right. But there'll be a lot of collaborations. A lot of collaborations between companies, because they want to, they'll be repositioning their portfolios.
Yes.
They'll be refocusing on only on efficient producing assets.
Right.
Producing from very difficult areas or very high cost areas. That's not going to be priorities. Okay. New companies with niche, very, very focused technical expertise. They will be emerging out of the scenario. Companies will be acquiring a lot of digital capabilities. And I believe another impact that the regulatory pressure or the societal pressure to produce clean energy will be more and more. It's not going to be less. It's going to be more.
Right.
So these are certain kind of long-term effects that I can see. And another one point I want to add is basically you asked me about collaborations and how it is going to be beneficial, right? And I already touched upon that. One of the long-term effects of this whole scenario is going to be a lot of collaborations or mergers or acquisitions.
Right.
Now, apart from leveraging their capabilities in terms of their assets or supply chain capabilities and everything else, to focus on producing energy in a more efficient way, what it is, they're basically driving down the unit cost of production, because your overall price scenario is very bad or very low. So people will be trying to drive down their cost of production or unit cost of production by these different models that is going to emerge out of the whole scenario. And there's a benefit out of that, because the moment the cost of production or the unit cost of production goes down, there will be a lot of high cost production methods will be viable. Like, for example, shale oil. Okay. If we can bring down the unit cost of production, even producing from shale oil or producing from, say, remote locations, that will be more viable. So having said all of this, we have challenges, at the same time opportunities to redefine ourselves as an industry and emerge more leaner, more efficient, more tech driven, and probably companies will have to shake off a lot of inertia and bureaucracy, especially national oil companies. In my opinion, I believe 15, 20 years down the lane, oil and gas is still going to be a very important part of the world energy mix. It is not going to run away anywhere. It is still going to be there. It is going to be still very relevant, very, very important, but in a different structure.
Right, right. And you have actually touched upon those aspects which other industry leaders are also talking about. And this is something we will be looking at very closely. This is something we will have our eyes on, and let's see how the industry evolves in the times to come. Because currently, yes, we are not sure, but everyone is contributing in some or the other way to get through this crisis today.
Absolutely, absolutely, yeah.
And we did talk about the impact of COVID-19 on the industry and in the professional space. But Devashis, I would like to understand from you, in your personal journey, how has this affected your personal life, your family, your work-life balance, your personal situation? How is it different for you, and how is it affecting you personally?
It depends, actually. See, each person deals with a crisis in different ways. Okay, so we all get affected, right? I just say, when I just came into Sledgehammer about in last year, later part of last year,
right,
I was just getting a hang of things. I was getting up to speed, and I was having my own plans and trying to set up a lot of things. And right after the New Year, I was traveling around Southeast Asia, doing a lot of things, and I was having a lot of things ahead of me. I was running to achieve a lot of things, but suddenly whole crisis came about, and take a lot of things to back burner. So it affects you professionally, because you are not being able to push through your objectives or what you want to do. But then again, you find ways. And similarly, and most importantly, it helps you at a time of crisis like this, helps you analyze yourself, analyze the industry, how you can do things differently as a professional, as a personal, as a person. I mean, so it depends. The whole thing depends on you, whether you take it as a crisis or as an opportunity. Right. And of course, as a person, since you asked me, it has definitely affected. You're in lockdown situations, and your family, yourself, everything is locked down. You have to redefine how you organize your time, your how you maintain a schedule, a routine, and still be efficient. Yes. Still be efficient. Don't get into the bad habits, or like being lazy or something. You have to work towards keeping a steady mind and your health and everything else. So it's a tough time, but yeah, I have personally, on a personal level, I have used more to kind of evolve myself as a professional or a person. Reading is something you can do very regularly. So this is something that gives you a bit of time to even read a lot. So yeah, it depends on how you actually utilize that time. This kind of crisis also throws a lot of opportunity as an organization. Absolutely. Right? Mm-hmm. And even as an organization, you start questioning how you're going about doing your things. Yes. This is a great opportunity to improve yourself, bring in more efficiency to the system, bring in more optimization, I'd say. You basically start questioning your existing way of doing things, and try to bring about changes. Right. And as I have already mentioned, this crisis has also opened up a lot of opportunities for companies like ours, and how we actually leverage that and how we take advantage is completely up to us.
Right, absolutely. And on this note, what is your final message for the global oil and gas community today, especially people who are running their businesses and are finding them struggling amidst all of this? What is your message for them?
Well, first of all, Garima, I really don't. No, I don't think I'm qualified to give a big message to the oil and gas industry as such. I mean, there are a lot of very knowledgeable, very skilled, very experienced people out there, very hugely stalwarts. So I would not like to give a big message or anything, but I would like to share my feelings. So what's been bothering me, right?
Right.
I see it from a kind of a humanitarian approach or humanitarian side, and how it is affecting people. I have already touched upon the subject of mental health, yes, motivations, and all the layoffs that are happening. People are going through a lot of insecurity and instability, and we see loss of a lot of people from the industry. Great knowledge base, great people. So probably the decision maker of this industry, okay, should think about how to retain this people, how to steer through this tough time without really paying a huge human cost. Okay. And third, how to attract the right kind of people, right kind of brilliant young people, talent to this industry, who are losing interest, so that we have enough capable people to lead us through to the next level of innovation. so that we go to an even greater height as an industry.
Right.
So I believe there's a lot depends on what the older generation or the leadership people in the leadership role are doing and how they're guiding and what advices they're giving. Having said that, if I can just give you one example to the younger generation, don't lose hope. I mean, you have to just reinvent yourself, and every crisis brings in opportunity. It is not going to stay forever. And this is not the first crisis ever as an industry, as a world we have seen. And this won't be the last either. So this is going to end at some point of time. And for this particular point of time, you have to keep yourself sharpened, go out, have new knowledge, new skills, new capabilities. And you have to, keep yourself positive. And when the right time comes, you should be able to, ready to take over the mantle from the older generation.
Right.
Yeah.
This is a very empowering message, Devashis. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for sharing your story today on the Dais, helping us understand the current dynamics, simplifying the dialogue for us, helping us understand how Sledgehammer is contributing to the current situation significantly and still making an impact. And that is really commendable. Thank you so much once again.
Thank you very much, Garima. It's my pleasure. Thank you.